ABC. It is Old Metal Rocker 67 here, and I have a video here that is kind of a family video in the metal community among these bands that I'm going to show you here. They're kind of intertwined throughout a lot of bands, but what bands I'm going to show you here are mostly what I have, and more traditional heavy metal, straightforward heavy metal bands here. But yeah, it's interesting when I kind of came up with this concept here. I've seen it on, I have a book with family trees. It's the Deep Purple Family Tree Book. I mean, the thing is massive of all the different bands that formed off of Deep Purple, you know, and from a lot of the members of Deep Purple, you know. Anyway, that family tree there. Well, this is kind of similar, and it starts with bands that go back to like 2007. But first off, I want to say, if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, give a thumbs up, and leave a comment, and that way we get the word spread throughout the community. Anyway, so yeah, I was sitting here last night thinking about this, and I come up with, I love these bands, all traditional or straight heavy metal, and basically a lot of these are intertwined through the same record labels as well. But I'm going to start off with a band that I came familiar with back in the early days, actually. A band called the Rollas out of Sweden. I believe that's where they are from. And, yeah, they came out about 2007, didn't put out their first album, which was The War of Steel Has Begun, which came out in, what was it, 2011. So this is 15 years old already. Of course, it's on the Underground label, or Underground Power label. I don't know if you can, these are absolutely getting hard to find nowadays, I know that. But anyway, this has members of the members of this band are Ced, which was Cedrickson, I believe his name is. Anyway, this guy, I believe that's what his name was. Ced, it has SED, I'm going to try to think of it. Cedric, can't think of his name, last name. I should have, kind of, got into a little better. But anyway, he was the main member. And Joe List was the vocalist of the Rollas early on. So like I say, this was kind of the first album that came out from the Rollas. And they were around for, well, they're actually still around, according to their website. And they put out 7 albums, maybe 6 full lengths and 1 EP. And anyway, they put out, after that, they put out this EP called Concept, which came out in 2012. And okay, Cedric Forsberg. I knew I'd seen it, but anyway, he's listed throughout all these bands that I'm going to show you, as well as Joe List and a few other members, kind of like I say, they intertwine throughout these bands here. But this is the EP that came out. And then it was this one. This is actually, I think what drew me in was this album here, Metal Strikes Back, which came out in 2013. These are all on the Underground Power label. Part of the Storm Spell Records is also with this. A lot of the CDs were initially put out by Storm Spell, and then Underground Power got the rights, I believe, to put out these on vinyl. So then they came out with Road to Destruction in 2014. Great covers. But again, all these bands are intertwined together. And then I don't have this, I believe this is the only one that is not on vinyl, I believe, as far as I know, which is Pagan Ritual. At least I've never seen a vinyl of this, but the others are on vinyl. So the only non-vinyl of the collection here. And then they came out with Pagan Ritual came out in 2015, and then they came out with Celtic Kings in 2018. And then there's a Metal Strikes Back Definitive Edition, which I do not have. But anyway, so like I say, Joe List was in that band, Cedric Forsberg was in that band, as well as a few others. But anyway, the rock and roll is, like I say, they're still around, still putting out good music today. And I still have them. I have them all on CD as well. All great traditional heavy metal. So yeah, so anyway, let's move on a little bit here. Let's go into Blazon Stone now. Another killer group that has members Cedric Forsberg as well. So these, you know, Rocka Rollas would put out an album and then would be Blazon Stone. They kind of went back and forth. And let's see, I'm trying to, let's see here. I believe it was Cedric Forsberg that was the main member of this band, formed this band. I remember buying this early on too. And a lot of their early stuff here will start out with Return to Port Royal. Of course, Blazon Stone, you figure it's more as pirate metal. Definitely a lot of pirate metal, all of Running Wild. Very good band if you've never heard them. But yeah, this is really good. And it's straightforward heavy metal as well. It's not all, you know, like pirate metal, but good stuff here. That one came out in 2013. And then in 2015 came No Sign of Glory. Again, all these are on the Underground Power label. All limited to either 500 or 300 or 200, depending on, I guess, the label. But these are really hard to come by nowadays. And then we had 2016, the War of Roses. War of the Roses, excuse me. Again, another Underground Power. This is number 407. Great stuff. Been kind of in a mood for that lately. Yesterday I played a lot of it. And then let's see here. And then we had Down in the Dark from 2017. Like I say, these members mostly, that happens. Anyway, so Cedric Forsberg, the main guy. And Emil Weston Skog, Collie Lofgren, Matthias Palm, and Johannes Freikholm. But good stuff here. And then we had in 2019 Hymns of Triumph and Death. Great cover. And then we have Live in the Dark, which I do not believe is on vinyl as well, unless I missed it, but the only live album. And that came out in 2019. And of course I got another copy. One is blue and one is black. And then we have Damnation, their last release from 2021. This is put out only by Stormspell, so I'm not sure if you can get these anymore. I doubt it, but you never know. You can try. But anyway, so Forsberg, again, one of the members, and of course I do have the CDs as well. And then I had mentioned Joe List. Well, he's been in quite a few bands as well. Like, let me just back up just a sec here. Cedric Forsberg has been in so many bands. All these bands I'm showing you, he's been in these. He's been in Crystal Viper. He was in Marta's solo album. He's been in Ruin Lord. He's been, I mean, many bands. Very talented individual. But Joe List, early on, he also had a number of bands he was into. He was in Hellhound, and these next two bands I'm going to show you that he sang a lot on these albums here. So anyway, we're going to get back into this, and this is a band called Ancient Empire. And let's see here. Let's see, I do believe it's right. Anyway, so this was the first one, When Empires Fall, which came out in 2014. Now, this has Joe List, Steve Peltier and Rich Peltier, and let's see here. And not this particular album, but in 2018 they added the drummer Gary Neff, which I will kind of get into. So anyway, When Empires Fall was their first release, and that came out in 2014. So here we have the Rocka, Rollas, Blazon Stone, and Ancient Empire. All bands intermixed together, all doing albums, putting out albums about the same time, maybe a year later, maybe the same year, you know, quite a bit. So then, actually I did have these a little bit backwards, but go figure. Anyway, not that one, sorry. So after that was Otherworld, which came out in 2016. Not on vinyl, I believe. And then in 2017, which was my intro to Ancient Empire, was the Tower album. And then this is the first I knew that it was on vinyl. So, but I did have it on CD. Good stuff, traditional, straightforward, heavy metal. Check it out. Good album. That came out 2017, and then in 2018, which Gary Neff was a drummer. If you've never heard Gary Neff drum, definitely check him out. Fantastic drummer. Again, this is on the Underground Power label. And it came out, like I said, 2018. And then we have, in 2019, Wings of the Fallen. On Jolly Roger Records. There's a couple in here that are on the Jolly Roger Records. But killer stuff. Of course, Joe List also sings in a band called Hellhound and a few others. Rocka, Rollas, of course. But anyway, so after the Wings of the Fallen, their last one, which came out in 2021, which is Priest of Stygian, also on Jolly Roger Records. Hard to come by, these are, I know that. And of course, let's see here, I have the CDs too. But yeah, killer stuff. And I got like 2 bands left that are kind of together. And I will be showing you here some Shadowkiller, which Joe List does the vocals in this as well. Gary Neff is the drummer, and I've interviewed these guys quite a bit early on in their careers. They are no longer together anymore, but yeah, Shadowkiller, they were kind of around about 2010, so right around the same time as the Rocka Rollas started, you know. And of course Joe List again is the vocalist, sorry. But first off, we had in 2013 was Slaves of Egypt, out on Storm Spell Records. Great stuff. And but after that, in 2015, which was Until the War is Won, and then we had probably one of my favorites is Guardians of the Temple from 2018. This one is signed by the band. Great stuff. Promoted them a lot when I was doing radio. Check them out. Fantastic stuff. And then they do have a box set that's out. And but yeah. Also, I also have Guardians of the Temple on vinyl, which is this is on Metal Warrior Records. This is the blue vinyl. And then I have another copy which is red. And one more as well. And this one is black. So anyway, Dark Awakening came out in 2020, and we all thought that was the end, you know, and you know, fast forward to 2025, and they had lost 2 members. Shadowkiller did. So Joe List was still around, and Gary Neff went into the studios, and they had recorded these back in 5 years prior, but they just sat there. So prior to, let's see, I'm trying to think of, Daniel Lynch and Robert Edwards had passed. Daniel Lynch on April 17th of 2025, and then Robert Edwards Jr. on August 11th of 2025. So we lost 2 main members of Shadowkiller. So we didn't think there was going to be anything more until later in 2025, when they put out Sworn to Avenge, the last final album of Shadowkiller. Fantastic album. Probably my second favorite behind Guardians of the Temple. But I would really love to see this get a vinyl release. It's that good. But Joe List, great vocalist. Check him out. And then there is one other band, and what did I do with them? I just had them here. There we go. Okay. One other band that Cedric Forsberg had formed, probably, let's see, what was the earliest? Would have been 2014. So again, all these bands intertwined in them early years of the 2010 forward. Another band was a band called Cloven Altar, which they put out their EP in 2014, which is only 3 tracks, put out by Stormspell. Pretty rare to find nowadays, but if you get a chance to find one, pick it up. Then that one, like I said, came out 2014. And then there was a vinyl release of Demon of the Night from 2015 on orange vinyl. Again, Cedric Forsberg is the main guy of Cloven Altar. And then the last album to come out was in 2017. It says they're active, but which was this one here, Demon of the Night. This is a kind of a 3D. You're probably not going to see it, but it's a 3D cover. And but so anyway, this is how all these bands intertwine. Starts with Cedric Forsberg and Joe List, and then it kind of what started with the Rocka, Rollas, and then of course Shadowkiller started about that time. Blazon Stone, Ancient Empire, Shadowkiller, you know, all these bands are intertwined in some way, shape, or form, either by former bands or bands that members that went off and formed other bands, you know, or original members that formed all these bands, you know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you understood it. But anyway, spring is getting closer, guys. And like I say, hit the subscribe button and give us a like here. And anyway, as I always say, keep it loud, keep it heavy, keep it metal. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.